and welcome. We're continuing our series on the Georgia Early Learning and Development Standards, or as we call them, the GELDS. Today's webinar will focus on the learning domain or learning area, physical development and motor skills. My name is Laura Evans. I'm the Standards Coordinator at Bright from the Start, Georgia Department of Early Care and Learning. And I have with me here today Dr. Laura Johns. She's our Director of Quality Initiatives. Welcome, Laura.
I'm so excited to be here.
Dr. Laura and I will be breaking down this physical development and motor skills domain, including the strands, the standards, and the age-appropriate indicators. We're also going to be sharing some possible activities that you will be able to use to address this domain with children from birth to age 5. If you haven't already, I encourage you to go back and watch some of our other webinars. They're posted on our website, www.gelds.decal.ga.gov. Some are more general, but some have more specific information about how to implement certain learning domains with the GELDS. Let's back up a little bit. We've gone over the background in some of our other webinars, but I just want to go over some basic background about the GELDS. The GELDS are the result of an alignment study and revision project that began back in 2010. Our main goal was to improve the quality of Georgia's early learning standards and therefore improve the quality of Georgia's early learning programs, and to also provide a better alignment with the CCGPS, the Common Core Georgia Performance Standards for K through 12. So the GELDS, if you'll look at this diagram, we had two sets of standards for birth to 5. We had the Georgia Early Learning Standards for birth to 3, and we also had the pre-K content standards. Now we have one research-based set of standards for birth to 5, the Georgia Early Learning and Development Standards, or GELDS. Just as a review, let's go over the structure and the coding of the new GELDS. There are 5 learning domains, and under each domain you have areas of learning. So let's start with physical development and motor skills, PDM, and under that you have health and well-being, use of senses, and then your fine and gross motor skills, which we'll talk more about today. Next, you have social and emotional development, code SED, and under that you have developing a sense of self, your self-regulation, and developing a sense of self with others, social skills with peers, social skills with adults. Third, you have approaches to play and learning, APL, and under that you have initiative and exploration, attentiveness and persistence, and then play. And then fourth, you have communication, language, and literacy. And under this domain, you have receptive language, those listening skills, expressive language, those communication skills, and then early reading and early writing. And last, you have the cognitive development domain. And under this domain, and this is a little different from the other 4 domains, you actually have subdomains. And here you have your disciplinary areas, math, social studies, science, creative development, and cognitive processes, which are those thinking and problem-solving skills. But like I said, today we're only going to focus on one domain of learning. Our goal is to provide some more specific information on the physical development and motor skills domain, as well as to give an overview of the physical development and motor skills strand standards and indicators. This next slide is a breakdown of how you'll be coding the GELDS. So you start with your learning domain. This is the code PDM because we're just focusing on physical development and motor skills today. And then next you have your standard number. So for this example, we're just talking about standard number 1 under physical development and motor skills. And then after your period, you have the age. So for the GELDS, since it's birth to 5, the number is either going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, depending on the age you're trying to address. And then the last character is your lowercase letter that is the indicator letter. So for all the standards, you'll have a series of indicators that could be A, B, C, D, etc. So we're starting off physical development and motor skills. Our first strand in this domain is health and well-being. Let's take a look at standard number 1, PDM1. The child will practice healthy and safe habits. Let's talk about that. This standard covers a lot of different skills. What are some skills covered in this standard?
So if you think about health and safety, so for an infant, you're thinking about health. How can I help this infant know that every time we have their diaper changed, we're also going to wash hands? And building up that routine that anytime there's a diaper change, there's a hand washing. Thinking about washing our face. Thinking about talking about nutritious foods. As we move up, we're going to then allow the child to take over control of their own health. So we're going to sneeze into our elbow. We're going to use tissues. We're going to wash our hands and count to 20, so we do it for a long period of time. So we're going to really move up the developmental spectrum for each child and really help them get control of their own health and their own physical well-being. Safety things will include things like knowing what to do when we hear the fire alarm go off, knowing how to cross the street with our mom, knowing how to clean up our toys so we don't trip over them. So it really covers a huge broad spectrum, but what we're talking about is helping children learn how to take control of their lives so their environment is safe and they know how to keep their bodies healthy.
And physical fitness is also a part of this. Explain that. Why do we need that in this area?
So a huge part of it, I mean, especially in Georgia where we have such a high obesity rate, really helping a child be empowered to take control of their own physical well-being and making sure they understand that we need to move every single day. We need to move our bodies. We need to exercise both our fine and gross motors. So this domain also reminds us as teachers to really push physical activity each and every day to support well-being as children move into adolescence and adulthood.
I had the opportunity to visit with a family home provider for an entire day, and here's just a glimpse of how she covered many different indicators in this standard in one school day.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
Both hands on what?
Brown rail.
The brown rail. Both hands where?
Brown rail.
Very good. Crisscross applesauce. Let's go up. Everybody up.
Woo!
Yes. Very good. Can you tell me what color Jalen's holding? What color?
Orange.
Orange. What color is Jada holding?
Red.
What color is London holding?
Purple.
Hold it, Jada. What color is Kaylin holding?
Blue.
What color is Keon's holding, everyone?
Green.
L'Oreella, what color are you holding?
Yellow.
Yellow. Very good.
So we see this teacher covering so many different health and well-being indicators throughout one day, and a lot of these things should just be embedded into the day, correct?
Absolutely. So you may not see that we have a whole lot of activities on our lesson plan that cover this, but we do want to make sure that as you are working through the routine of your day, that you're embedding health and safety routines and making sure that you're building those from an infancy all the way up to preschool. That little girl who was washing her hands and counting to 20, that didn't come just by magic. Her infant teacher would have been counting to 20 when she washed her hands and using a paper towel the correct way. She learned that over time. So really think about all those skills need to start in the infant classroom.
Okay, great. Let's take a look at the second standard, or PDM2, under the health and well-being strand. This standard is the child will participate in activities related to nutrition. And I know this is one of your favorite areas, Dr. John, so tell us how you feel about nutrition.
I mean, children really need to learn from a very young age how to make good choices. I mean, if they're seeing adults sitting around with Coca-Colas and eating junk food, children are going to naturally drink Coca-Cola and eat junk food. So we really need to, from a very young age, expose our children to different types of vegetables and fruits, talk about why this is so good for your body and how carrots make your eyes sparkle and how eating a banana is good for our legs and our muscles. And we really need to reinforce that through the whole curriculum, but we also need to provide activities that support nutrition so that children understand how to make good choices. If they learn how to make a good choice as a child and they learn to choose water as their beverage of choice, they will carry those through to adolescence and adulthood.
This next activity we're going to show you guys is one of my favorites, and I think it's such an excellent way to teach nutrition. They do a whoa and go activity. Let's take a look at that.
The healthy choices in the program we start with at the beginning of the school year with our curriculum specialist is a whoa and go. Basically, she talks about healthy foods, and she has a scenario of a picnic table with a lot of whoa foods. And she talks about why, and we, throughout the year talk about why certain foods, potato chips and French fries and all those things are really whoa foods, but in moderation, it's okay. But then she goes through the go foods and how healthy the go foods are, and then we make a mural and we have it posted throughout the walls outside, and it shows the go and the whoa, and the children get to interact and discuss why it may be a whoa food or why it's not. I have a question to ask you. Is cereal go food or whoa food? What do you think?
Go food.
It's go food. Is that a healthy snack? Does that mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
What else would make it even more healthy if we had
I
it?
know.
What?
Fruit.
Fruit. Fruit, that's right. Yes, I'd love for you to tell me something. Cookies, is that a whoa food or is that a go food?
Whoa food.
A whoa food. Do you tell your mommies
know what's a whoa
and
food.
daddies about go and whoa foods?
I know what's a whoa food.
What is a whoa
That
food?
is a drink soda.
Soda is a whoa food. Yes,
my
that's,
dad-
it's just introducing them, and hopefully they go home and tell their parents that, Miss Wendy eats go foods. She doesn't really eat too much whoa foods, and and Mom, I want a go food, and it's just very important.
I like this because the teacher is making eating healthy kind of like a game. Like we're choosing whoa or we're choosing go. It's adding some language to it that will help develop them in their language skills. Any other things you noticed about that?
Well, I really loved how she engaged the family so that we now could have children going home and saying, hey, we can't go to McDonald's. There are no go foods there.
Right.
Or the only go food there are the apple slices and the Happy Meal. So I love how this teacher is really helping the children become experts about what's going into their bodies so the children can then kind of say to their families and the people who are feeding them dinner, wow, I think I'm going to pass on the cake, but I would love to have some more grapes.
Okay. All right, continuing right along, our next strand in physical development motor skills is the use of senses. And here you have two standards. You have standard PDM 3, the child will demonstrate an awareness of the body in space and child's relationship to objects in space. And then you also have standard PDM 4 under the strand use of senses. The child will use senses, sight, touch, hearing, smell, taste, to explore the environment and process information. Let's talk about PDM, Dr. Laura. Awareness of their body in space. Let's elaborate.
Yeah, so it's really inexpensive to get a bunch of boxes and bring them into your infant and toddler room and let children go through them and hold them up over ourselves. And so building obstacle courses in the classroom would be a great way to really think about our body through space. I love those tunnels. We all had them when we were little, and we would crawl through them, and now we're inside the tunnel, and then we're outside the tunnel, and walking around tables and going under chairs. So we really need to, at all ages, talk about our body in comparison to the things around us. So that's a really important one. But this idea of senses is also critical, because our brain actually goes deeper into content the more sensory experiences that we have. So with any activity that you're doing, regardless of the indicator you're working on, if you infuse sensory activity, the sense of touch, the sense of smell, the sense of sight, then we're also helping the child go deeper into the understanding of that material or that activity that we're doing.
One teacher I visited had just a plethora of sensory materials on the ground. Let's take a look at how she addressed sensory.
With babies want to explore texture. They want to explore in their mouth, outside of their mouth, hands. However, they just love textures. So it's good to have different variety of things out there so you can give them many choices.
Let's add some bottles to us. Let's see what you do with the bottles. They have some bottles. Whoa. Do you like the bottles? Do you like the bottles? Let's bring some more now. Let's make this interesting for everyone. Hi, Cookie. You decided to join us? Shake, 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 shake. Shake, shake, shake. Gentle. We're going to use gentle hands, Cookie. We have clapping hands. We're going to be gentle. Gentle, Cookie. Gentle. You want to share with your friend? You want to come over here? You want to come over here? You're exploring? Come. Come, come. Gentle. Gentle hands, Cookie. We're going to use gentle touches, huh? Here, Cookie. Come get it. Come get it, Sadie. Come get it. Come, look. You want to bang? You want to join me? Here. You want to help me? You want to help me? Okay, come, let's do it together. Let's do it together. Come on, Cookie. You can do it. Come over here, Cookie. You want to join me? Wow, come on. You want to try it? You going to go try it? Come, go try it. Go try it. And I do it, and you do it, and we do it together.
So lots of things going on in that clip. But if we're just thinking about sensory, what did you see?
So, I mean, just the fact that anytime they hit one of those sticks up against the object, it made a different type of noise. I love the fact that those children on the light table were able to not only push things through the light and see that, but that you saw so many children putting things in their mouth, and that teacher made sure the objects there were safe for them to do that. She recognized these are toddlers, so she has to make sure the materials which are going to go in their mouth, because tasting is part of understanding, that they were safe materials so they could do that. So tons of things, not to mention the fine and gross motor skills involved in all of that activity.
And I can't leave that clip without talking about the social and emotional with the gentle hands. I love that part where she's like, gentle hands, to let them know that that's not an appropriate way to touch another child. And so she's really covering a broad range of things in that clip.
Absolutely, and she's so positive about it also. I love that.
Okay, moving along, let's go to our last strand in the physical development and motor skills domain, and that is our motor skills. Standard PDM 5 is the child will demonstrate gross motor skills. And I've put on this slide just to kind of demonstrate and illustrate how the age-appropriate indicators work for the GELDS. You can see underneath you have your 5 age-appropriate indicators under the standard, one for each age grouping. So with PDM 5.0A for 0 to 12 months, you have develops control of head and back progressing to arms and legs. And that continues to move from 12 to 24, 24 to 36, 36 to 48. And then by the time they're 48 to 60 months, that skill has progressed to coordinating movements to perform more complex tasks. So let's talk a little bit about gross motor skills. First, what are gross motor skills?
So gross motor skills is anything we do to use the large parts of our body, so our arms, our torso, our legs. So it's really about gaining control over all those big parts of our muscle structure. And it's really important that infant teachers see this as really a critical stage for them, that they not only can help manipulate a child's body, but they can also reinforce, wow, you're lifting your head up, I can see you, you're pulling up, ooh, are you going to try to crawl today? So that teachers are really thinking about putting toys right outside an infant's grasp, so they have to reach for that toy and really pull those muscles out. So it's important that we really recognize that early on and then move it up. But also thinking about that gross motor skills don't have to happen just outside.
Right.
Because a lot of teachers think that's an outdoor thing. I should put that on my outdoor activity lesson plan. But we can do square dancing inside with our 4-year-olds. We can do hula hoops inside. We can, for our toddlers, set up carpet squares that are far apart from each other to have the children walk and step as if they're stepping stones, stretching those legs. We can do yoga in the classroom. So many things we can do with this gross motor idea that can happen inside the classroom.
Okay, great. Let's take a look. You mentioned infants. Let's see how one teacher addresses infant gross motor, and then also in a 3-year-old classroom.
Stretch, stretch, stretch. Okay.
Take a deep breath in your nose. Out your mouth. One more time. Let's go up.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hands on your hips.
Hands on your hips.
And then make circles. 1, 2, 3. You can do it, Aubrey. 4.
All right, so that was great. So we've covered gross motor skills, and that leads us to our last standard in the GELDS for physical development and motor skills, and that is the child will demonstrate fine motor skills. And if you look at that age progression with the indicators, they're starting off at 0 to 12 months, developing their grasp reflex. And then they're moving along through that progression, gaining control of hands and fingers, coordinating the use of hands and fingers, refining their grasp to manipulate tools and objects, and then finally performing fine motor tasks that require small muscle strength and control. So first off, Dr. Laura, let's clarify, what's the difference between gross and fine motor?
So fine motor is using the small parts of our body, so our fingers, our toes, and let's not forget our tongue, which is one of our small muscles in our body that we really need to exercise to be able to articulate language. So it's all about fingers, toes, and the tongue. So for example, let's think about an infant classroom. We want to hand things to children. We want to not put the pasty in the mouth, we want to put the pasty in the hands. The child can grasp it with their pincer grasp. So really always handing objects to little bitty ones. And as they move up in developmental ability, we can start using great kitchen utensils, and we can let toddlers pick things up. So they can go and pick up a block out of the block area. And then pretty quickly, as they move into a little older development, they'll start being able to use the tongs just with one hand and start being able to pick things up. We could get our toddlers and our 3-year-olds to pick up cotton balls with their toes and put them in bowls. We can get our toddlers and 3 and 4-year-olds to use their tongue to pick up Cheerios off the table, a clean table or a paper plate, and put them in a bowl. So we really want to think about all the opportunities we have in the classroom and outside to use those fingers, the tongue, and the toes.
One teacher I visited with has had a creative and a good example of how to address those fine motor skills with a water dropper activity. Let's take a look.
We began by allowing the children to just observe each of the materials that they would be utilizing. So they observed that they would have a paper towel, and they observed that they would have a glass of water. And then they also observed that they would have a dropper. And in order to utilize that dropper, they had to learn how to squeeze the dropper first. So we practiced squeezing the dropper, and then we were able to use that on the paper towel, and the children could see how they were to squeeze the water out onto the paper towel and watch that water absorb into the paper towel.
Who knows what these are? Do you remember?
I don't know.
They look like a straw, don't they? But I don't think we can drink out of these because there's not a hole on this side. There's a hole on this side. There's not one on that side. You have to have 2 holes, don't you? See? There's not a hole there. These are called droppers. So everyone has to have a dropper. So there's one for Louise, and one for Caden, and one for Janiyah and Marlena. All right. So now everybody needs some water, right?
Can we drink it?
Do you want to drink it or do you want to use your dropper? Because you're going to use your dropper? Okay, so there's one for you and Janiyah and Marlena and Caden. So look, when you take your dropper, you have to squeeze it. Can you squeeze it? Oh my goodness, Janiyah, what happened?
Squeeze it.
You squeezed it and what happened?
You make it.
You made what?
Water.
Oh, the water? What happened to the water? You sure can. Squeeze it. Marlena, you can squeeze it onto your water. Watch. I just did 1 drop on mine. You did a lot of water on yours. What's happening to the paper towel, though? It absorbed it. Absorbing, look. It took the water and it soaked it up. That's what absorbing means. It soaked it up.
So what a great way to work on those tiny little muscles in the hands and fingers, working those fine motor skills. What else did you notice in that clip that was wonderful?
Well, that simple science activity that really did have the children focus so much on just the skill of, because it's so obvious to hold it, but then to also squeeze it. And I loved how the teacher embedded in that activity science concepts, language, a big word, absorption, language concepts, how she really reinforced their language and really allowed them to experience it. They didn't have to take turns using the droppers. Each child had their own. They could practice. One child got a little bit ahead of herself, but then she reinforced, yeah, you're squeezing it. So just so many great things coming out of that lesson plan and that activity with that teacher.
So as we're going through this, we want teachers to know, right, that it's okay to cover many indicators with one activity. It's better, right?
Absolutely, it just automatically happens. I mean, here was a science activity where the teacher consciously said this is a great opportunity to think about fine motor skills. So no matter what activity you're doing, remember if you're engaging the senses, you're engaging fine and motor skills, you're engaging language, you're covering many domains and many indicators within those domains.
Okay. Well, a big part of being successful with that is planning using the GELDS. Let's take a look at this diagram that illustrates how to use the new GELDS in your classroom. So you start with the GELDS first. Always start with the Georgia Early Learning and Development Standards, and then make decisions about curriculum and assessment. So when you're thinking about what to do in the classroom, you think about which standards you want to cover, and that helps guide your lessons and activities, and that in turn will lead to your assessment, your observations to know whether the children are meeting those standards. And then if they're not, then you go back to your GELDS to see what you need to recover and redo. If they have met it, great. Also, I want to just quickly show again our website. This is our Georgia Early Learning and Development website, www.gelds.decal.ga.gov. This website will include all the information and resources you need to successfully implement the GELDS. You'll have access to all of these webinars that we're doing. You will have information on professional development and training, and you'll have a searchable database of all the standards, including indicators and video clips of what those indicators look like in the classroom. As we wrap today, Dr. Laura, thanks again for all of your insight and expertise on all things that do with infants and toddlers. And I'm so glad you could join us today.
Thank you.
Well, that's it for today. We have many other webinars on the Georgia Early Learning and Development Standards on our website. Thanks so much for your time. I hope this has been helpful, and we will see you next time.